All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. We're just a matter of hours, about 24 hours to be exact, away from one of the greatest spectacles in all of auto racing. And I'm talking about the 109th edition of the Indianapolis 500, as race day at the Brickyard is always special. So, as usual, in all, 33 drivers are set to be on the grid for Sunday. But it's one of those things for me where there's several questions that have to be, addressed and put out there, and will any of them, come to fruition for this race? And the first question for me is that will the circuit's current king of the mountain finally have his moment in the sun at Indianapolis? And I'm talking about Alex Palou. We're talking about Palou. He's the two-time reigning IndyCar Series champion. He's won three out of the last four IndyCar championships overall. And the only thing that he is yet to accomplish as an IndyCar driver is kissing those bricks and taking home the checkered flag at Indianapolis. And of course, right now it's Alex Palou and everybody else. You're talking about a guy in Palou, five top five finishes in five races so far this season. He's taken home the checkered flag four times. He has currently a 97-point lead over second place and Kyle Kirkwood. So, barring something unforeseen, we're talking about Alex Palou being a three-time IndyCar champion, three in a row, and of course, four out of the last five. So it's just going to be a matter to see if he can get that checkered flag at Indy, as he is starting this race in sixth position come Sunday. Now, will the pain of being a runner-up twice in the last 3 years turned to tears of joy for Pato Award? Pato is one of the younger and more phenomenal racers on the IndyCar circuit. He begins Sunday's race in third position. It was right there for the taking for him last year as he battled with Joseph Newgarden for the checkered flag. He came up short, of course, a couple of years ago. He fell short to Marcus Ericsson. Will 2025 at Indy be different for Pato Award and his McLaren? The embarrassment, speaking of Joseph Dugard, but the embarrassment the Team Penske is dealing with right now. Tim Cindric is no longer with Team Penske, as well as several other folks, within the organization. And of course, it has to do to the rules violations regarding the rear end attenuator. This is something that was brought to the light by Chip Ganassi. It was inspected. And of course, subsequently, we know Will Power is now starting last at Indy, and Joseph Newgard, the two-time defending champ, is going to be starting 32nd. Like I said, Tim Cindric has lost his job, as have others. So you look at Newgarden, you look at Power, you look at Scott McLaughlin. They've got to find a way to put this all behind them. And of course, you know, it's it's something that quote unquote was apparently addressed last year. It wasn't. Roger Penske, I guarantee you he's got egg on his face right now. You're talking about a guy who owns Indianapolis, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He takes pride in his team. No team owner has won more Indy 500s than Roger Penske. And it's one of those where you look at Team Penske right now. This is a scandal that they have to find a way to get over. Now, clearly, Penske fans are still going to support Newgarden and Power, of course, for the driver introductions come Sunday morning at Indianapolis. I do expect some boo birds, but nonetheless, let's see if these drivers can put this behind them and go racing. So we've got Robert Schwartzman on the pole for Sunday's race. I think this is an exciting field. You got the veteran Takuma Sato second. Like I said, Pato Award is third. Scott Dixon is fourth. Felix Rosenquist is fifth, as that rounds out your top five. Carl Larson, he attempted to do the double last year, racing at Indy and, of course, the Coca-Cola 600. Rain forced back the start of last year's Indianapolis 500. He did race the entire Indy 500, got to Charlotte mid race. And of course, that race was called at the Coca-Cola 600 due to rain. Hopefully, things will be different for Larson tomorrow as he looks to do the double once again. I think this is going to be a very interesting race. It's one of those I'm not going to be a betting man and say, well, this guy's my favorite because you never know what could happen in Indianapolis as far as the caution flags, accidents. There's always typically one big accident in Indy that takes out a couple of drivers. So it's a lot of different things to factor in. You got a lot of hungry drivers that are looking to get top five for the first time this year. You got a lot of hungry drivers that are looking to get that checkered flag for the first time. And where better a place than to go out there and get the checkered flag for the first time for the season than Indianapolis and the Indy 500. Everybody wants to drink the milk. Why? Because you get that wonderful Jostens ring, and you get the wreath, placed over your shoulder. You go up the elevator to victory lane there at the Brickyards, but more importantly, everybody, and I mean everybody, always remembers who wins at Indianapolis. Of course, there's going to be a lot of cheers for the hometown guy, Ed Carpenter. He's going to be starting 14th in this race. A lot of sentimental favorites, in this field as always. Elio Castroneves is running 22nd. He has multiple Indy 500 championships on his mantle currently. A guy like Kyle Kirkwood, who's second in the points, he's starting 23rd. So there's a lot of different things to look at for this race. But I think, as always, we are in store for a tremendous day of racing. Big racing day overall. You got the Grand Prix of Monaco. In the morning, you got the Indy 500, and then, of course, you got the Coca-Cola 600. It's been a Chip Ganassi show so far this season, of course, with Alex Palou leading the way. Let's see if that remains the same. Of course, we know about Penske and what's going on with them. How is McLaren going to factor into this thing? How is Andretti going to factor into this thing as you look at the battle of the teams? But let's see what happens when we go racing at the Brickyard on Sunday. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw on this podcast, please feel free to hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. Like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365, and you can check it out. Drop a line to be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. Also, just like it is for the X, you could do the same for me on Instagram. You check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. You give me that follow, I will give you that follow right back. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off. And as always, thanks once again for checking out my podcast here on the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge channel on YouTube. And until next time, be well, everybody.